Hello, in this short video I'm going to talk a little bit about my composition The Sun and Her Flowers. I'm going to talk a little bit about the background, explain some of the extended techniques on how to play it, and then at the end we'll listen to it. So the background of this piece is that I wrote it as one of a set of three in 2020 as part of a project that I was commissioned to do by PRS Foundation Women Make Music. And it was a three movement ensemble piece for three separate harp organisations in the northwest of the UK. So the first one is Hope is the Thing with Feathers. That was written for Transpennine Harps. And then the middle movement is Freshwater Tears. That was written for Harps Northwest. And then The Sun and Her Flowers, this piece, which was written for Harps of the North, run by Anita Aslin. All three pieces are based on short poems. And this particular piece is based on a poem by Rupi Kaur, and wonderful poet, and I'll have a link to her website below, so please do check out all her poems. They're absolutely wonderful. What I loved about this particular poem is it's a very short one, but it just conjures that atmosphere of just joy, and that's what I wanted to try and convey in this piece. So this piece is for prepared harp quartet or harp ensemble. So what prepared means is that there are things added to the harp to give different sound effects. So the first thing is that there are pieces of paper that are woven between the strings to give the effect of like a kalimba. We then also have paper clips, and they are placed at the base of the strings to give a kind of buzzing sound. And then we have coils. So here we have a coil. As an alternative to a coil, if you can't find one of these, you can actually use like a mini hair grip. So it's a tiny hair grip. So they both work equally well. So that's all the preparations that are added to the harp. So let's hear how they sound. So let's start with the coil. So what you're going to do with that is actually just wrap it round the base of the string here. Just keep wrapping it around. There we go. And then let that go. And then when you play the note, there's a little rattle to it. Okay, as an alternative to that, what you can actually use is this mini hair grip. And these might be more readily available. And you can just clip that around a string. I'll do a different note here. And again, let that drop down. Now, as you can hear, that's really quite raucous. But that's actually quite a good thing, because this note, this prepared note, is only used once in the piece, right towards the end, as part of the climax, and at that point everything is very loud. So although this may seem quite a loud effect, actually in context it will be absolutely fine, and that will work out. So that's the coil. Let's move on to the paper clips. With the paper clips, you can just use one, and you're just going to hook it over the string here and then let it drop so it lands freely at the bottom. And you get more of a sort of, not so much a rattle, but more of a buzzing sound. And this is to emulate the sound of bees. Now, one paper clip is good, but actually I do find that two work even better. It's just got a tiny bit more give. I mean, if you wanted to load up and put three on each string, that's fine. I find there's not much difference between using 2 paper clips and 3 paper clips, but there's a big difference between using 1 and 2. So the next thing we need to look at is the paper. So here we have a sheet of paper, and we're going to just thread this and weave this through the strings. So this is the A above middle C, and just weave it through till you get to the F. So what I would do is actually make sure it's quite low down towards the base of the harp, soundboard of the harp, so it doesn't get in the way of your fingers, and actually just bend that back on the F here, just bend it back towards you, and the same with the A, you can just bend that back as well. In fact, that's probably a bit too long, I might just need a little bit of adjusting. Just strips a bit too long there. There we go. So now we've got a sound a bit like a kalimba. And then on the bottom notes, the A, you should have, and the F, it's more of a slightly sort of buzzing sound on the F. That's just a bit too much paper there. There we go, so that's more of a kind of buzzing sound. And that's what I'm after there with the paper effect. So there's one more sound effect that you're going to see in the piece, and it's written down as a kind of squiggly line, and it says swirl hands over soundboard to create a kind of swooshing effect. Here we go. So to do this, I literally have my hands flat, fingers together, and I'm just going to go up and down the soundboard. And I find if you do them at alternate rates, then you can, so right hand down, and as it comes up, do the left hand down. You get this kind of continuous sound and motion. So it's a bit like a very distant kind of rain stick effect. This works very well if you have a harp with a matte finished soundboard. If you have a gloss finished soundboard, then you might find that instead of making this nice swooshing noise, it actually make a squeaking noise, which we definitely want to avoid. So a good tip to, if you have got a gloss soundboard, is to actually use a piece of paper. So here I have a piece of paper with some blue tack on. The blue tack's not going to cause any damage to your harp. And you can just blue tack that to the back of the body of the harp here. And then you can run your hands over that, and that will give the same effect. So this is a good tip if you have a gloss soundboard to avoid squeaking noises. So there's just one more special effect that I need to show you, and that's a xyloharmonic. I use this an awful lot in my compositions. So if you go to make a normal xylophonic sound, so you've got your left hand second finger, if you press that down firmly on the base of the string so that it's more or less, it's actually on the strip of the soundboard there, and then play your note. So we have this kind of damped effect. Now what the xyloharmonic is that you're going to you start in that position there, but you're very quickly going to take your left hand away as soon as you've plucked the string. So what we have is we have the kind of the bloom of a harmonic, but whereas when you'd normally play a harmonic and you're stopping the note, it would sound, so this is the note, you play a harmonic, and it sounds one octave higher. So it has the same kind of bloom as this harmonic, but it doesn't take the pitch, the octave higher, the pitch stays the same. And it's a really lovely effect, and I think it's very distinct from a harmonic, and it just gives a lovely sort of bloom sound to it. With a harmonic, the knack is all about the timing, isn't it, of that little flick that you do. So with these xyloharmonics, it is actually all about the timing. So making sure you start down on the bass, and as you can see, if I leave it too late, you end up with a xylophonic. So it's releasing that finger in time. And there we have xyloharmonics. So let's talk a little bit about the form and the structure of the piece. So it starts off with these cadenzas. and the cadenzas sort of in harp 1 and harp 2, and then we have this kind of sound world happening in harps 3 and 4. And yes, they're just lovely little moments of the sun wakening up. And then it goes into, after these two cadenzas, it then starts with section A of the piece and the whole dance starting. So the piece is in 4 parts, and harps 3 are technically less hard than harps 1 or 2. However, each part is individually very important in the mix. So it's really crucial that if you're playing harp 3 and 4, that you really understand that although you don't have the solo lines that harps 1 and 2 has, you are the engine and the driving force behind the piece. So this is really crucial that you listen to each other and you just really make sure that that ticks along and really grooves between harps 3 and 4. This then all builds up and it ends up with the whole statement of the theme. And then we have this middle section at letter G. This middle section actually refers to the previous 2 pieces. So there are snippets from Hope is a Thing with Feathers, and there is snippets from Freshwater Tears within this piece. However, as I mentioned, each of these pieces is a standalone piece, so that's absolutely fine. However, if you were playing this as a set, this would be the final piece, and then this would be recapping what's happened previously. So we have this kind of like little interlude moment at G, and then we recap back into the dance. So letter I, we have a build up out of this middle section into letter J, where we have this kind of joyful recap and a real romp to the end. What will happen is at letter N, this is where is like the climax of the piece, and this is the first time that we're going to hear this buzzing, raucous coil effect on in harp 2 on that kind of low D, where we have a sudden change of harmony. And by this point, it's a case of just really going for it and just enjoying the music. So finally, at figure O, there is an optional extra that you can do in harp 1. It's notated as some flourishes that are over 2 octaves, but they're notated as 8th notes, as quavers over those 2 octaves. However, if you want to, within the same duration of time, turn those into semiquavers, so it's a semiquaver run over 4 octaves using the same notes, then that's an optional extra that you can do for your harp 1. Now that we've covered some background about the piece, and also I've shown you how to make the special effects, let's have a listen to it.
Thank